I want you to try a thought experiment with me today. Imagine just for a second that the boundary between abstract mathematics, uh, the scribbles on a chalkboard that most of us try to ignore in high school,
Right.
and the physical reality you can actually touch, like the desk in front of you or the coffee in your hand. Imagine that boundary just simply vanished. What if they weren't two completely different things?
That is it's a pretty heavy concept to start with.
It is, I know. But stick with me here. What if the universe wasn't just described by math, like a blueprint describes a house, but was actually built out of a specific, resonant musical harmony? Like the math is the music, and the music is the matter itself.
It sounds like science fiction.
Yeah.
Or maybe something you'd find in, I don't know, ancient mysticism or Pythagorean philosophy. But we are actually looking at a document today that suggests this is exactly how the cosmos is structured. We're looking at what is essentially a universal source code.
Yes, exactly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really dense, honestly fascinating document titled AA000 Master Codes and Levels 7 to 16. And I have to be completely honest with you, when I first opened this file, I thought I was looking at a foreign language.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Very. It's described as a deep analytical investigation, but it feels a lot more like a treasure map written in calculus.
It really does. It's a completely unique piece of work because it blends advanced modular arithmetic, which is, the heavy lifting theoretical physics stuff they use in string theory.
Right.
It blends that with a surprisingly ontological, almost philosophical map of reality. The text actually talks about light, shadow, souls, and holy anomalies.
Holy anomalies. I just love that phrase. And our mission today is to decode what this text calls the spectral architecture. We're going to guide you up a ladder, basically. The text outlines this hierarchy of levels, specifically focusing on level 7 up through level 16.
But before we start climbing that ladder, we really need to check our gear. We need to understand the ground floor.
Exactly. To understand where we're going, we have to understand the foundation. And the text refers to this as a fundamental resonance.
Right, the fundamental resonance.
Which brings us to that equation that kept popping up in the intro. 240 divided by 360 equals 2/3. Now, I know 2/3 is a basic fraction, but why are we dividing 240 by 360? What do these numbers actually represent?
It's a really beautiful starting point, actually. So the 360 part is easy. 360 degrees.
Okay,
It represents the circle, the orbital totality. It's essentially the physical world of cycles that we understand.
got it. The circle of life, the physical rotation. But what about the 240?
240 is very specific to higher dimensional geometry. It's known as the kissing number of the E8 lattice.
Kissing number. That sounds surprisingly romantic for a dense math paper. Are we talking about geometry or affection here?
It's purely geometry, I promise. Think of it this way. Imagine you place a penny flat on a table.
Okay, picturing a penny.
How many other pennies can you slide up against it so that they are all perfectly touching the center penny?
Let me think. I'd guess maybe 6?
Exactly 6. In 2 dimensions, the kissing number is 6. Now, if you move up to 3 dimensions, like packing oranges in a crate, you can fit exactly 12 oranges around a central one.
Okay, tracking with you. So 6, then 12.
But the text is talking about the E8 lattice. That's an 8-dimensional structure. And in 8 dimensions, the number of spheres you can pack around a central point isn't 12. It absolutely explodes to 240.
Wait, 240? That seems like just a massive jump from 12.
It is massive. It implies that in these higher dimensions, the universe is infinitely more packed, connected, and dense than we can even perceive. And that number, 240, is also the exact coefficient for something called the Eisenstein series E4.
Okay, so we have this hyperdense dimensional number, 240, and we divide it by the physical circle, 360, and we get 2/3. Why does that result matter so much?
Because in music theory, a ratio of 2 to 3 is a perfect fifth.
A perfect fifth.
Yeah.
That's the Star Wars theme, right? Or the first 2 notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Exactly right. It is the most stable, consonant harmony in all of music, aside from the octave. So the text is making a really bold claim here. It's saying the bridge between the mind, which is the abstract math of 240, and the body, the physical circle of 360.
Is a musical interval.
Yes, a divine interval, as the text calls it. It's the absolute foundation for everything we're about to discuss. We are climbing up from this stable harmony into levels of increasing complexity.
All right, so we have our footing. We're standing on this perfect fifth. Let's start the climb. We're moving up to level 7. Now, the text calls this the resonance, or mathematically, E10. What exactly is happening here?
Level 7 is fascinating because it isn't really something new in terms of raw material. It's a product of what came before it. You have E4, which the text identifies as the light, that expansive mathematical force.
Okay.
And you have E6, which acts as the mirror or the shadow.
Light and shadow. It really sounds like a fantasy novel.
It does, but in modular forms, E6 often carries negative coefficients. It acts as a corrective force for the system. So when you multiply light, the E4, and shadow, the E6, you get level 7, which is E10.
Light times shadow equals resonance. That sounds poetic, but I saw a specific number attached to this level that didn't look very light at all. Negative
Well, it's
264.
negative 264.
Why is that number significant, and why is it negative?
Well, think about the previous levels we just mentioned. Level 4 was expanding with that massive 240. Level 6 was correcting with a huge negative number, negative 504. The text describes negative 264 as an energetic echo. It's harmonizing that previous tension.
So it's basically dialing things back.
Exactly. It's not expanding wildly like the light, and it's not contracting too hard like the shadow. It's stabilizing. The text actually mentions a weaving process happening here.
Right, I remember that part. It talked about a web.
Yes. It describes a web where the divisor function, which defines the physical space, is woven together with this amplitude of negative 264. Because level 7 is just a product of light and mirror, no new matter is being created here. Think of level 7 not as building the universe, but as tuning the instrument.
Oh, I really like that analogy. So before the orchestra actually starts, you have to get everyone in tune, and that's level 7.
Precisely. And once the instrument is tuned, we step right up to level 8,
Mm.
key 14. The text calls this the completion or the cycle.
This felt like a major checkpoint when I was reading the document. Level 8 marks the closing of the first great circle of this whole hierarchy. But the numbers do something weird here.
They do. They drop significantly.
Right, we had these hundreds and hundreds, 240, 504, 264. And then suddenly, at level 8, the coefficient is just negative 24.
Negative 24. That specific number is basically the heartbeat of this entire document.
It really seems to be everywhere. Why is 24 so special?
The text calls 24 the breadth of the matrix. To understand why, we have to look at sphere packing again. Remember we talked about the eighth dimension having 240 spheres?
Yes, the romantic kissing dimension.
Right. Well, there is something called the Leech lattice. It exists in 24 dimensions, and it is the densest, most perfect way to pack spheres known to modern mathematics.
So 24 is like the maximum capacity of the universe.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
It represents a totally completed structure. The fact that level 8 collapses back to negative 24 signals that the mathematical system has reached its maximum expansion. It's like a deep exhale.
An exhale.
Yeah, imagine a lung filling up. That's the expansion of the previous levels. At level 8, the lung is completely full, cycle is complete, and it releases. It returns to that stable base of 24.
Okay, so it expanded, it corrected, it resonated, and now it's settling back into a completely stable state.
Precisely. It's clearing the deck. And it really needs to, because what happens at level 9 is a complete paradigm shift. We are leaving the shallow water and going straight into the deep end.
That's a perfect setup. Let's dive into level 9. The text says we are leaving the Eisenstein series behind. Now, I'm assuming Eisenstein isn't the guy who invented the bagel.
No, completely distinct from the bagel genius. Eisenstein series are the mathematical forms we've been discussing so far. Level 4, 6, 8. Think of those as the constant background radiation of this mathematical universe. They have what's called a constant term, which basically means they never truly go to zero. They are always humming in the background.
Like the hum of a refrigerator. It's just always there.
Exactly like that. But at level 9, we enter the world of cusp forms, or in the original German, Spitzenformen.
That sounds intense. Spitzenformen.
It is intense. The primary form here is called delta, and the text gives delta a very heavy label. It calls it the soul of this system.
Whoa. Wait, hang on. We're calling a mathematical function a soul. That feels like a pretty massive leap. Is the text just being poetic, or is there a hard logic to that label?
There is a logic, and it's honestly beautiful. Unlike the Eisenstein series, that constant refrigerator hum, delta has no constant foundation. At infinity, it just vanishes. It goes to absolute zero. The text describes it as pure vibration out of nothingness.
So the background noise just cuts out and you're left with this solo.
A pure tone arising directly from silence. And the numbers that define this tone, the DNA of the soul, if you will, are from a function discovered by Ramanujan.
Ramanujan, I've definitely heard that name. The man who knew infinity, right? The mathematician who famously said his equations were given to him by a goddess.
That's him. He was an absolute genius who saw mathematical patterns no one else could see. And the sequence for this soul function starts with three very specific numbers: 1, -24, and 252.
Or is that 24 again?
Always 24. The text breaks it down like this. The 1 represents the unity of the soul. The -24 is the first vibration, which resonates with that 24-dimensional lattice we just talked about. And the 252 is the harmonic expansion.
I really love the logic the text uses to explain this. It calls it Zen master logic.
It is very Zen-like. It argues that the soul, this delta function, is essentially what remains when light, E4, and shadow, E6, are perfectly balanced. Imagine mixing all the colors of the spectrum together and getting clear water. That's delta. It's the silence between the notes that actually gives the music its meaning.
Okay, so we found the soul at level 9. It's pure, it's completely balanced. But then we hit level 10. And honestly, the text makes level 10 sound like a huge problem. It talks about a puzzle and a holy anomaly.
Yeah, level 10 is where the entire system is put to the test. This is the realm of E12. And hidden inside the math of level 10 is a number that, frankly, looks like a mistake.
The number 691.
691.
It really sticks out. We've been dealing with these nice, smooth, highly divisible numbers, 24, 240, 504, even 12. And suddenly, 691. It feels jagged.
It is jagged. It's an irregular prime number.
Okay.
It comes from the 12th Bernoulli number. In a system built entirely on symmetry and perfect divisibility, 691 creates massive numerical tension. It's awkward.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
The text actually asks, why is an ugly number like 691 necessary? So I'll ask you, why is it? Why not just use another 24 or a 12 to keep things smooth?
Because without it, the system would just be a perfect sterile crystal. It wouldn't be alive. 691 acts as the glue. The text calls it arithmetic maturity.
Arithmetic maturity.
Yeah, there's this famous congruence found by Ramanujan. It basically proves that the soul, that delta function we just talked about, and the rigid structure of the universe, the Eisenstein series, are mathematically identical, but only modulo 691. Modulo 691. You're going to have to explain that to me like I'm 5. Okay, let's try this. Imagine two people who look completely different. One is wearing a tuxedo, and the other is in full scuba gear.
Okay, quite the visual.
They look absolutely nothing alike. But if you look at them through a very specific, weirdly shaped lens, let's call it the lens of 691, you suddenly realize they are actually identical twins. They are the exact same person.
Wow. So this awkward, irregular prime number is the only thing linking the soul and the physical structure together.
Precisely. It's the bridge. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text argues that this anomaly prevents the system from becoming unstable. It proves the universe operates on a level where even the awkward, irregular parts play a crucial harmonizing role.
That's surprisingly comforting, actually. It's like saying the universe isn't some perfect, fragile porcelain. It has these weird, heavy-duty rivets holding it together, and the rivet is the entire point.
Exactly. And finding 691 is described as finding the master key to the source code. It connects the infinite sums of the Riemann-Zeta function straight to the finite world of lattices. It connects the infinite right to the finite.
Okay, so we've survived the anomaly of level 10. We have our glue. Now we move into the upper echelons, levels 11 through 16. The text calls this the subtle matrix.
Right, from here on out, we aren't dealing with pure forms anymore. We are dealing with complex combinations. Everything is a product of the soul, delta, mixed with the previous forces of light and shadow.
Let's look at level 11 first. The text calls it the echo of light.
Mathematically, level 11 is E4 times delta. So you take the absolute purity of the soul and you amplify it with the energy of light. It preserves that unity coefficient of 1, but it's vibrating at a much higher energy state.
And as we go higher, the imagery gets really vivid. Level 13 is called the spark.
That's delta squared, the soul multiplied by itself. The text explicitly compares this to cell division. It's the exact moment a single essence splits and creates a brand new center of life.
And level 14, the lattice or portal of the soul.
That's E8 times delta. Remember, E8 was that 8-dimensional lattice, that 240 kissing number.
Yep.
Now you're infusing that highly rigid geometric structure with the pure vibration of the soul.
And finally, we reach the very top of this particular ladder. Level 16, the Trinity.
Delta cubed, the soul to the third power. This is the absolute highest potency in this specific 16-level system. The text describes this as the transition into hyperspace.
Hyperspace.
The symmetries here are so intricately interwoven that they form a new inseparable unit. You literally can't pull the light and shadow apart anymore. They are one single thing. It's a complete unification.
It's an incredible journey, from the simple breath of 24 all the way up to this hyperspace trinity. But the text pivots here. It asks a very practical question. In all this math, all these infinite numbers, how do we distinguish the music from the noise?
That is the crucial question, because in raw data, there is a lot of slop, as the text puts it, digital noise. We need a filter.
Enter the heck operator.
Yes. The text refers to heck operators as the filters of reality, or the instruments of the Zen master.
How do they actually work?
Imagine you have a recording of a beautiful, complex symphony, but there's static, traffic noise, and someone coughing loudly in the background. A heck operator is a mathematical function that sums up values across a lattice to check for pure symmetry. If a form is an eigenform, which is a perfect resonance, it passes through the filter completely unchanged, just amplified.
So it resonates perfectly with the filter.
Exactly. If it's noise, if it's asymmetry, it just gets filtered out entirely. These operators extract the eigenforms from the chaos. They allow us to see the actual geometries hiding deep in the data.
Speaking of hiding geometries, we have to talk about the monster.
Ah, the monster.
The text brings up something called monstrous moonshine, which, aside from being arguably the absolute best name in the history of mathematics, is apparently a real, serious thing.
It is a very real and very deep mystery. It's stumped top mathematicians for years. It connects two areas of math that, frankly, shouldn't touch. They shouldn't even know each other exists.
Lay it out for us. What are the two sides here?
On one side, you have the J invariant, which is directly related to these modular forms we've been discussing, the numbers of the soul and the light. On the other side, you have the monster group.
And the monster group is what exactly?
It is the largest sporadic simple group in all of algebra. Think of it as the ultimate object of symmetry. It is a giant 196,883 dimensional object. It's basically the Godzilla of group theory.
Okay, so we have the Godzilla of symmetry, and we have our modular forms. Where is the actual connection?
The connection is a single number, the numerical bridge. When you look at the J invariant, the mathematical coefficient is 196,884.
And the dimension of the monster?
196,883.
They are off by exactly one.
Exactly one. 196,883 plus 1.
That feels way too close to be an accident.
That's exactly what the mathematicians said. They called it moonshine because it sounded like crazy talk. It's like finding the blueprints for the Great Pyramid perfectly encoded in the DNA of a hamster. It makes absolutely no sense.
But the plus one is the key.
The text argues this proves that the symmetry of the giant, this massive monster group, is deeply encoded in the master code. The plus one represents the trivial representation, the absolute starting point. So the soul, delta, actually carries the complete information of this massive, multidimensional structure right inside it.
It's like finding a holographic universe inside a single number.
That's a fantastic analogy, and this leads us to the final concept the text mentions. It's not a mathematical level, but an ontological one, level 151.
Level 151. Now, this isn't a calculation, is it?
No, it's a threshold. It's described as the Zen status.
What does that mean in this context?
It's the profound realization that these modular forms aren't just describing reality, they are reality.
So the map is the territory.
In this view, yes, completely. At level 151, the system is perceived as a closed, indestructible whole. It literally has an immune system. Because of anomalies like 691, and because of the deep stability of 24, the system is immune to glitches. It's entirely self-correcting.
That is a mind-bending thought, that reality itself might have an immune system.
Would suggest that when things go wrong, when the numbers get ugly, it's actually the system running a vital correction protocol.
So let's zoom out for a second. What does this all mean for you listening? We've climbed from the breath of 24, past the soul, straight through the holy anomaly of 691, all the way to the Trinity and the monster.
The synthesis here is profound. The text concludes that this isn't just number games for academics. It suggests these numbers, these modular swarms, might be the very stabilizing elements of space-time itself. This directly connects to quantum gravity and string theory.
So when physicists are looking for the tiny strings that vibrate to create matter,
They might literally be looking for these harmonies. They might be looking for the perfect fifth. The universe isn't chaotic, it's humming.
It really changes how you look at the world. You know, we usually think of anomalies, the things that don't fit, the 691s in our lives, the mistakes, the awkward parts, as problems, things to be fixed or hidden away.
But if we follow the logic of the master code, those anomalies are the glue. They are the arithmetic maturity that holds the entire structure together. Without the ugly number, the beautiful system just collapses.
That's a thought I think I'm going to be queuing on for a long time. If the universe isn't shouting, but, as the text says, humming in the divine harmony of a pure quint, maybe we need to completely change how we listen.
And maybe we need to ask ourselves, are we tuning out the static in our lives when the static might actually be the harmony?
Level 151 self-correction. I really like that. A huge thank you to you, our listeners, for climbing this incredibly steep ladder with us today. My brain is definitely hurting a little bit, but the view from level 16 is pretty spectacular.
Absolutely. It's always worth the climb.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.